my students, I'm Madam Joyce from Educare TZ. I'm teaching biology, and today I will be with you, my advanced level, to discuss our topic which is found in Form 5. And this topic, it is called coordination and irritability. So within this topic, my student, as I have said in the previous session, this topic, it is very interesting topic because we are discussing things that we are performing every day in our life. So my students, you are warmly welcome since we are going to discuss on our subtopic, which is the sensory receptor. We are going to deal with our subtopic, which is the sensory receptor. So before we proceeding further to see our main concern of today, also we have to recall ourselves on where we end on the last session. So in the last session is where now we try to look on the different kinds of classification of the sensory receptor based on the type of the stimuli. And thereby we have seen about thermoreceptor. We are going further seeing the nociceptors or pain receptors, and we finalize by looking on the chemoreceptors. So my student, in this session also we are going to see chemoreceptors. Since in the last session we discussed that within the chemoreceptors, it detects any kind of chemical stimuli. And we have seen that kinds of chemical stimuli here, including the smell that we finished looking on the last session, but also the presence of taste. And also we have humidity. So all of those, they are chemical stimuli. So now we are going to proceed looking on the taste receptors that is found within the chemical receptor. So now here we are saying that these taste receptors, or we can say that taste buds, they are located on the upper surface of the tongue. So we have the taste buds. Hizi taste buds zinapatikana on the upper surface of the tongue. Juu kabisa ya ulimi ndipo ambapo unakutana na hizi taste buds. Sasa what are the function of these taste buds? Here we are saying that each taste buds contain about 25 sensory receptors cells with a thin tastes here exposed to drink and food dissolved in saliva that we're going to see on the figure 4.25. So here we are saying that within your tongue is where now these taste buds they are located. Na tumesema within the taste bud is where now there is about 25 sensory receptors. Hizi sensory receptors ndizo ambazo zina detect any kind of tastes that a food can provide. And here we are saying that this sensory receptor cell with the thin hair cells or with the thin tasty hairs. Ukiangalia ule ulimi vizuri, you're going to see later on and you will see those thin hairs or thin tasty hairs you're going to see. So these hairs, they are there to detect the presence of food if you are taking in food. So those are taste buds. They will detect. So there is a presence of food. So thereafter, to detecting the presence of food or to detecting the flavor of food, that is the function of the taste buds, which are located within your tongue. So now we can say that such buds are sense on the 5 basic tastes. So tunasema ndani ya zile buds is where now different kinds of sensory receptors they are found. So and also those buds, that is taste buds, they are specialized to perform only 5 functions or to detect only 5 tastes. So the first taste here, it is called the bitter taste. The second one, it is called the salt taste. We have salty taste, and also we have sweet taste, and finally we have umami taste. So this one we can say that solely meat taste. This one umami taste. So you can detect the umami taste by taking in tomato. Tomato, it has a umami taste. So hizo zote ni kind of the taste which are detected by the taste buds. Remember, within your taste buds is whereby they are found a lot of sensory receptors. And this sensory receptor, they help in detecting any kind of food changes or any kind of food that you can take in. So now we are saying that combination of the odors and the basic taste produce we're saying that the subtra taste. Kwa maana kwamba kukiwepo na taste, smell together with the taste, ndiyo ambayo baadaye inakuja na bring about flavor. So ndio maana hapa tumesema combination of the odor and the basic taste. What kind of basic taste here we are talking about? We are talking about those 5 tastes. That is the bitter taste, salty taste, sweet taste, and umami taste. All of those, they constitute to flavor together with the odor, or that is the smell. So now, as I promised you that we're going to see figure 4.25. And this figure shows the structure of the taste receptor. Taste receptor. So in taste receptor, we have said that it is found within the tongue. So as you can see here, this one is our tongue. Huu ndio ulimi, and within this tongue now is when you cut a portion of the tongue. So inaweza ikaonekana kwa muundo huu hapa. Kwa hiyo yote kuanzia this region up to here, it is a tongue. Imekatwa kuelekea ndani, so that we can examine the structure which are found within it. So now, as I have said, within it is where now we have the taste buds. As you can see here, this one are the taste buds. They are very small, so you cannot see by using your naked eyes. So now, within this taste buds is where now there is a sensory receptor. Kwa ndani ya hii taste buds, hizi unazoziona hapa zina rangi ya njano, tunasema kwamba hizi ndizo taste buds. So ndani ya taste buds ndipo ambapo kuna kuwa na sensory receptor. So now ukichukua ile taste buds moja, then ukaiview under microscope, ndipo ambapo utaona ile taste bud moja inakuwa na structure hiyo hapo. So now, as you can see here, within this taste buds is where now there is a taste pulse, there is a taste cells, there is a basal cells. Within it we have the synapse. You know that the synapse, we have already seen the function of the synapse in the previous session while we are looking on the nervous coordination in mammal. That is, it acts as a junction so that it can transmit impulse from one region or from one neuron to another neuron. So the same, inakuwa inafanya kazi hiyo. And also we have this gustatory afferent axon. As you can see here, this one, the gustatory afferent axon. And also we have this microvilli. This one are the microvilli. So hii ndio taste buds moja. Ndani yake ndipo ambapo kunakuwa na taste cell, or we can say that taste receptors for detecting any kind of food tastes. So and here I forget that within the taste within the tongue is where now there is a valate papillae, there is foliate papillae, there is fungiform papillae. So my student, when you are going more further in your university level, you're going to see all of these. That is papillae, that is valate papillae, foliate papillae, fungiform papillae, and so on. You're going to see all of those. But here, my student, you have to know that within the taste is where now there is all of this structure. That is taste buds, and they are different kinds of structure. So my student, after we have finished looking on the taste buds, now I'd like to take you through another thing, and this is osmoreceptors. That is osmoreceptors. Remember, this also osmoreceptors is the one of the type of the sensory organ or sensory receptor based on the type of stimuli. So now we are saying that these osmoreceptors, they detect the changes in osmotic pressure. So detect the presence of pressure, osmotic pressure. So now we can say that the osmoreceptors are primarily found in the hypothalamus and the kidney of most homothermic organism. Tukisema homothermic organism, including the human being, those organisms that they maintain their body temperature. Their body temperature, it is constantly. So regardless to the changes of the environment. So these thermoreceptors, they are found osmoreceptors, they are found within the hypothalamus and also within your kidney. So also, my student, for more clarification in the function of this osmoreceptor, we're going to see later on the next part of this session. So thank you for listening.